to go. All right, everybody, welcome.
We're good to go.
My name's Jeremy Lease. I'm with Sports Cards Live, and I'm joined by Chris Pronger, Hall of Famer, NHL legend. Chris, welcome to the stage at the Expo.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's good. It's good to have you. I got some questions.
Hey, thank
Hey,
you.
there we go.
Thank you.
There we go. Very nice, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the audience. Good to have you all here. Listen, you were inducted into the Hall of Fame 2015. It was a defenseman-heavy class.
Very, very defense-heavy.
Phil Housley, Nicholas Lidstrom also going in. Was it special for you to be in?
Angelo Ruggiero.
And thank you.
Angelo was a defenseman.
Thank you. Is it special for you to get in?
And by the way, Fedorov played defense too.
That's a good point.
So
that's a good point.
we all were defensemen.
But
Once you play, hey, as you know, once you play defense, you never go back.
what did it mean to you to be elected or inducted into the Hall of Fame with those other special players?
It was a great class. Obviously, Detroit being a enigma throughout the course of most of my career, going in with Fedorov and Lidstrom was pretty special. And obviously, Phil Housley, a bulk of my career played against, and obviously got to see Angela in a number of Olympic games. So it was great to be a part of that class. And as we just talked about, being a defense heavy, it's always good to go in with the brain trust of every squad.
Nice. Yeah, it's always nice for the fans to see a group of players going together who might have some commonality, and I thought you guys definitely had that. 1995, you get traded to the St. Louis Blues early in your career for another legend, for Brendan Shanahan. How did that resonate with you? How did that feel to be traded for such a legend?
As luck may have it, I was told by then GM Jim Rutherford that I was the franchise player in Hartford and wasn't going anywhere, and was actually on a fishing trip with our then head coach Paul Holmgren. And when he left my home to fly back to Hartford, was informed in Thunder Bay waiting for his next flight that they had just traded me for Brendan Shanahan. So it was, I think the biggest thing for me was not knowing much about St. Louis. We only played there once in the 2 years I was in Hartford, and not realizing that there was a shift between Brendan Shanahan and Brett Hull as the fan favorite in St. Louis, and Brendan was obviously on the rise there, and not realizing the hornet's nest I was walking into in St. Louis with the fan base and kind of everything maybe that Mike Keenan had sold them on me with. So it was definitely a learning experience, but something that I think helped mold me into the player that I became.
And I think it worked out well for St. Louis as well. So very nice. What impact did it have on you when Wayne Gretzky came to St. Louis for his short time there?
It actually was that. I think that's where things really started to change. I think the focal point, and rightfully so, was off of me and onto him, and it allowed me to kind of really regain my confidence, find myself. All eyes were on Wayne, and rightfully so, and it allowed me to kind of find my game and get back to just letting things flow and not worrying about being booed and making mistakes and things like that as a 21-year-old, and just playing the game that I knew and loved, and him coming, taking the scrutiny off me, and the media scrutiny and the fan scrutiny, and it was excitement in the St. Louis area to have Wayne there and be a part of wear the blue note. I don't know where I would be had we not made that trade to get him to kind of turn the table. My game was already kind of coming around a little bit, but I think him taking the pressure off and kind of assuming a lot of the scrutiny when he came in, I think allowed me to kind of really come into my own over the next couple months. I had a really good playoff and then a really good summer of training to kind of prepare for what I then knew were the expectations and mature and gain a little bit more experience in the league.
It's really good to hear that he had such a great impact on you there. Speaking of Gretzky, you did play for the Edmonton Oilers. You got to experience the Battle of Alberta. What's the fiercest rivalry you had been a part of?
the Battle of Alberta is certainly one of them, but the St. Louis-Chicago rivalry is, especially back in those mid '90s. Nothing of the '80s in the Norris Division, but or as they used to call it, the Chuck Norris Division. But those St. Louis-Chicago series, a lot of fights in the stands, a lot of fights underneath, and obviously a ton of fights on the ice. So it was a very spirited and passionate rivalry, and those two cities obviously battle it out a lot.
In the year 2000, you were the first defenseman to win the Norris Trophy, to win the Hart Trophy since Bobby Orr won it himself. What did that mean to you and for defensemen in general?
Very special, but I think that's where the comparison ends with respect to how we played the game. But anytime you can have your name associated with Bobby Orr, it's pretty special and very humbling. But exciting time. Yeah, it's funny that 24 years later, nobody's been able to do it. I think a couple guys have been close, but as I look back and kind of look at the voting, Jagger came second that year, and he was hurt, and I think he only played 68 games that year, and the Pittsburgh writer voted for me.
Yeah.
Which put me over the top. I think I only won by like 3 votes.
Yeah.
Out of
crazy.
A couple thousand. So it was a very tight race, and thankful that he chose me. But and now I get to do all this stuff and put Hart and Norris on my signature.
That's awesome. So of the young defensemen in the league right now, or even all defensemen, you got Cale Makar, you got Quinn Hughes, we have Adam Fox. Who do you think is best positioned to win a Hart Trophy as a defenseman and be the first one since Chris Pronger did it?
Yeah, I think Cale Makar would be the prototypical guy that can win it. Obviously incredibly gifted offensively, but in saying so, I think his defensive abilities and the way that he defends, he has a little bite to his game. He's got a little bit of that physicality when he needs it. He's a total package, and he would be the guy that I could see. I think the only detractor is that Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen might steal votes from him.
Right.
Because they'll be in the mix as well. So you're kind of splitting the vote, and that would be the only detractor in why he wouldn't win, is that there's so many options just straight from his team.
Yeah. 2007, you win the Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, or the Anaheim Ducks, along with other Hall of Famers, Scott Niedermayer, Teemu Selanne, who's one of my favorites. What did it feel like to win the Cup for you and to celebrate with a couple other legends like those guys?
Yeah, the nice thing was I had lost in Game 7 the previous year with Edmonton, and to get right back and get a kick at it. At the time, Scott Niedermayer was the only player on that team that had won a Stanley Cup. So it was everybody was very passionate and very invested in trying to get. Obviously, Scott wanted to try to help his brother win a cup. Teemu, longtime NHL, obviously superstar, and right from the jump when I got to Anaheim, it was Stanley Cup or bust, and everybody in that locker room was fully invested in winning a Stanley Cup for one another, for the organization, and obviously knowing what Teemu came back for, and knowing Scotty and Robbie playing together, and New Jersey had beaten the Ducks a couple years earlier, so it was cup or bust for that team, and obviously Berkey and Henry Samueli and the ownership were fully invested in us trying to get the first cup for Anaheim.
Right on. Well, I just got the sign that we got to cut this off. I have more questions. We'll do it next time. Chris?
Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for paying attention. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.